A Russian military unit near Chasiv has reportedly collapsed under pressure. Soldiers shot their own platoon commander and then surrendered en masse to Ukrainian forces. This was not an isolated case, but a clear sign that the Russian military is unraveling. Discipline is failing, morale is deteriorating, and parts of Russia's war machine are turning against themselves. Let's explore what triggered this mutiny, what it reveals about the Russian military's condition, and how Ukraine could exploit these internal fractures. According to Ukrainian Defense Intelligence, the mutiny occurred when Russian troops were ordered to storm fortified Ukrainian positions without sufficient artillery or armored support. In effect, they were told to carry out a suicide mission. When the platoon commander threatened to execute anyone who refused to advance, the troops turned their weapons on him instead. This account comes not from Ukrainian combatants, but from the Russian soldiers themselves, who surrendered after the incident. Realizing that staying behind would mean imprisonment or worse under Russian law, they chose instead to wave white flags and cross the contested front lines into Ukrainian custody, providing vital intelligence in the process. While the exact names of the mutineers weren't disclosed, the event is believed to have occurred near Chasiv, close to the city of Bakhmut. This region has been heavily contested even before Bakhmut fell to Russian forces, after prolonged attritional warfare. Although the loss of a single platoon may not change the tactical balance in Bakhmut, it provides a critical insight into the deeper cracks forming within Russia's military infrastructure. Russia is not just losing soldiers and equipment, it's losing its will to fight. The Russian army is facing a dangerous combination of manpower shortages, low morale, and a rigid command structure that makes adaptation nearly impossible. This is all unfolding within the context of a broader decline in Russia's economy and geopolitical position, now more than 3 years into the war. When the invasion began, Russia had approximately 900,000 active military personnel, with around 100,000 to 160,000 deployed near Ukraine. Following the initial resistance from Ukrainian forces, Russia reinforced its presence with another 190,000 troops and attempted to boost recruitment by offering higher pay and benefits. Fast forward to today, and Russia's active military is estimated at 1,100,000, with nearly 660,000 deployed in Ukraine. But rather than gaining experience and skill, the Russian military has replaced lost troops with undertrained and poorly prepared recruits. According to Ukraine's defense ministry, Russia surpassed 1 million casualties around June 2025, including both the dead and those wounded too severely to return to combat. While these numbers may be inflated for propaganda purposes, even conservative U.S. intelligence puts the number around 750,000 as of March 2025. If trends continue, Russia is on track to hit 1 million casualties before the 4th year of the war concludes. That would mark the highest death toll Russia has suffered since World War II. These casualties have forced Russia to rely on more drastic conscription measures, often deploying soldiers with only minimal training. The scale of the problem becomes clearer when you look at the pace of Russian advancement. In some regions, they are progressing only about 50 meters per day, gains that are essentially meaningless compared to the vast expanse of Ukrainian territory. These minimal territorial advances come at enormous human and economic cost. Russia is now allocating around 40% of its federal budget to defense spending, attempting to sustain a war that has made it an international outcast. The breakdown near Chasiv, reportedly involving the 20th Combined Arms Army, is symptomatic of a much larger problem: the hollowing out of the Russian officer corps. Russian sources have confirmed the deaths of 12 generals, while Ukrainian reports add another 4. An independent Russian outlet claims that over 5,000 officers have been killed. This matters because Russian military doctrine is highly centralized. Orders come from the top down, and are expected to be followed without adaptation. When commanders are killed, this structure collapses. There's no flexible system to quickly replace leadership or shift strategy. Ukraine has used this weakness to devastating effect, targeting officers with drones and missiles to sow confusion among the ranks. The centralized nature of Russian command contrasts sharply with its fragmented approach to training. Officers are responsible for training new recruits, but there is no consistent standard. Many units are misreporting their training effectiveness to Central Command. Some soldiers are being sent to the front lines with only a week of training and no real understanding of their mission. This lack of preparedness helps explain why Russian soldiers are increasingly surrendering, especially when faced with overwhelming Ukrainian firepower and drones. Ukraine's I Want to Live campaign has encouraged Russian soldiers to defect by promising humane treatment and asylum opportunities. These messages have found fertile ground among soldiers from ethnic minorities and poorer regions who are often targeted by Russian conscription policies. Russia's conscription strategy reveals a clear class divide. The draft has primarily focused on rural and economically disadvantaged areas, sparing large cities like Moscow and St. Petersburg. This has protected the Kremlin's political base and allowed propaganda to continue unchallenged. But it has also drained Russia's economic periphery of working-age men and forced families to send supplies to the front themselves. Even as Russia avoids drafting from its most populous and productive cities, it has turned to foreign reinforcements. Thousands of North Korean and Iranian soldiers have been deployed, but these troops bring new problems. Many cannot communicate with Russian units, leading to friendly fire incidents and disorganized assaults. Some North Korean units reportedly fired on Russian and Chechen allies by mistake. These foreign troops have suffered staggering losses. South Korean intelligence reports that around 2,700 of the initial 11,000 North Korean troops deployed to Kursk were wounded within months, and about 300 were killed. Western estimates suggest total casualties may be closer to 6,000. Russian efforts to replace them have involved sending another 3,000 troops into the same region, only to face the same challenges. Iranian soldiers have also been spotted on the battlefield, as seen in GoPro footage from May. In one clip, Russian troops struggle to coordinate with Iranian allies during an assault. Language barriers, incompatible training, and cultural differences make joint operations difficult and dangerous. This patchwork military strategy is unsustainable. According to Ukrainian intelligence, Russia is losing over 1,100 soldiers per day. Bringing in 10,000 foreign troops at a time doesn't solve the manpower issue, it only delays it. Given the previous attrition rate, a foreign soldier deployed to Russia has a 50% chance of surviving 6 months. A significant reason behind Russia's devastating losses is the evolution of modern warfare. Drones and long-range precision weapons dominate the battlefield. Around 70% of Russia's equipment losses are now due to drone strikes. Manpower losses likely follow a similar pattern. Russian troops are not fighting Ukrainian soldiers face-to-face. They're being hunted by drones in a modern surveillance-driven war. To make matters worse, Russia is paying exorbitant salaries to recruits and foreign troops far above the national average. Military salaries and family support now consume over 8% of the federal budget. That's in addition to the cost of purchasing weapons and technology from countries like Iran and North Korea. Meanwhile, Western sanctions have squeezed Russia's ability to profit from oil and gas exports, which once made up 40% of its revenue. This creates a dangerous cycle. The more soldiers Russia loses, the more it must spend to recruit replacements. The more it spends, the more its economy suffers. To maintain oil exports, it relies on risky shadow fleets that are costly and difficult to operate under sanctions. Compounding the problem, hundreds of thousands of Russians, mostly from the middle class, have left the country since the war began. These people often worked in it and other key industries, and their departure is a blow to Russia's long-term economic viability. The mutiny at Chasiv captures the essence of Russia's strategic failure. Putin can't achieve military victory without losing soldiers he can't afford to lose. He can't negotiate from a position of strength while his own troops mutiny. And he can't sustain a war that devours 40% of his budget for minimal territorial gains. Ultimately, Russia's approach to conscription reflects its deeper contradiction. By shielding the urban elite and middle class from the war's consequences, while sacrificing its poorest citizens, the Kremlin reveals that it doesn't truly believe this war is existential. If it did, Moscow wouldn't be importing troops who can't speak Russian. It would mobilize the entire nation equally. But instead, Putin continues to rely on an increasingly unsustainable strategy, betting that the rest of the country can bear the cost before the system collapses entirely. According to one analysis, it would take Russia more than 2 centuries to occupy Ukraine at the current pace of advance, at the cost of 100 million casualties. Russia doesn't have that time, and it certainly doesn't have that many people. As the situation continues to deteriorate, the one thing the Russian military cannot afford to lose its soldiers' willingness to obey is slipping away. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any updates. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.